Leadership isn't about the chair you sit in or the nameplate on your desk. It's not something you receive when someone hands you a title or gives you authority on paper. True leadership is internal. It's a fire you light inside yourself and fuel every single day with discipline, integrity, and effort. When you wake up in the morning and choose to move with purpose, when you decide to show up regardless of who's watching, that's when you're stepping into real leadership. Because leadership doesn't wait for recognition, it demands responsibility. It's the way you carry yourself when things are going wrong, when the pressure is high, when quitting would be easy but leading is necessary. It's the moment you make decisions based on values, not vibes. That's the standard I'm talking about. A personal code that says, no matter what happens around me, I'm going to be solid, I'm going to be consistent, I'm going to be excellent. That's what separates those who want attention from those who want transformation. Anybody can talk leadership, anybody can post a quote, but the ones who live it, those are the ones who change lives. You don't have to wait to be promoted to lead. You don't need to be in charge to operate like a leader. The mindset must come first. You walk into every space like it matters that you're there, like it matters what energy you bring, like it matters how you speak, serve, and show up. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, when you set the tone without needing to raise your voice, when you build trust without asking for it, that's when people start following you. Not because you told them to, but because you've shown them something they can believe in. Something rare, something real. The world is full of people chasing leadership like it's a prize to be won. But leadership is a weight. It's a responsibility to carry. A leader eats last. A leader listens first. A leader does the hard things not because it's glamorous, but because it's necessary. You don't show up for applause. You show up for alignment. You lead by example when it's inconvenient. You admit when you're wrong. You push through fear, not because you don't feel it, but because the mission is bigger than the moment. That's what living by a personal standard looks like. It's not reactive, it's intentional. You decide the quality of your leadership before anybody else even sees you in action. When others cut corners, you sharpen edges. When others make excuses, you make adjustments. You don't wait for the spotlight. You train in the dark. You hold yourself to a level of discipline that feels lonely sometimes because leadership will isolate you before it elevates you. You don't talk about hustle. You embody it. You don't demand respect. You earn it with every choice, every habit, every act of character. That's the level we're on now. That's the commitment. Leadership is earned in silence and revealed in storms. You don't lead because you want followers. You lead because you refuse to follow failure, fear, or mediocrity. So every day you wake up and look in the mirror, understand this. The standard you hold for yourself is setting the tone for everyone watching. They may never tell you, but they're observing how you respond under pressure, how you treat people who can't do anything for you, how you stay disciplined when no one's holding you accountable. That's leadership. That's how you lead like a pro, not by chasing a platform, but by building a foundation so solid others can stand on it too. People don't follow titles. They follow energy, they follow purpose, they follow authenticity. You can call yourself the CEO, the manager, the captain, but if your actions don't line up with your words, if your vibe doesn't speak louder than your position, then the title means nothing. A title might open the door, but it's trust that keeps people walking beside you. It's passion that gets them to run with you. It's consistency that makes them believe in you even when things get tough. Because let's be honest, anybody can lead when everything's going smooth. But when the storm hits, that's when your real leadership gets tested. And that's when people decide whether they're following a leader or just someone pretending to be one. Leadership isn't a game of power, it's a practice of presence. People want to be seen. People want to be valued. People want to know that you care before they care about what you know. They're watching how you treat others, how you handle adversity, how you show up when no one's clapping for you. And if you're not real, if you're not rooted in something deeper than your position, they'll feel it. Because people can smell fake from a mile away. They can sense when your words are just performance and when they're coming from the heart. The reason people follow certain leaders with fierce loyalty isn't because of their resume, it's because of their resilience, their passion, their willingness to walk the talk. Trust isn't built overnight. It's built in moments, in conversations, in how you handle pressure, how you admit when you're wrong, how you celebrate others without needing the spotlight on you. That's the kind of leader people want to follow. Somebody who's real, somebody who's consistent, somebody who doesn't shift with the wind or fold under fire. They follow people who show up even when it's hard, who speak life into the room, who elevate everyone around them, not just themselves. That's what leadership is. It's service, not status. It's showing up to pour into people, not pull from them. And when people see that in you, when they feel that your leadership is rooted in purpose and not ego, they'll go to war with you. They'll sacrifice for the vision. They'll buy in with everything they've got, not because you told them to, but because they want to. Passion is contagious. Purpose is magnetic. When you're clear about your mission, when you're fired up about what you're doing, when you live it so loud that people can't ignore it, that's when they start following you for real. And it's not because of a title or a paycheck. It's because they see something in you that calls something out of them. That's the mark of a real leader. You don't just give direction, you give people belief. You don't just manage tasks, you ignite hearts, and that doesn't come from authority. That comes from character, from showing up the same every day no matter how you feel, from being honest when it's uncomfortable, from leading with empathy and boldness at the same time. The loudest person in the room isn't always the leader. The leader is the one who makes people feel empowered, not intimidated. The one who listens more than they speak. The one who's committed to growing, learning, and leading with integrity. People follow consistency, they follow clarity, they follow courage. And if you bring that every day, if you bring your full self with humility, with hunger, with heart, people will follow you whether you have the title or not. Because true leadership isn't something you put on. It's something you live out. Every word, every decision, every moment. If you can't lead yourself with discipline, you're not ready to lead others with purpose. Before you start pointing others in the right direction, you've got to ask yourself if you're walking that path first. You can't expect people to follow your words if your life doesn't back it up. Leadership starts in the mirror. It's built in the moments when nobody's watching, when no one's clapping, when you've got every reason to quit, but you choose to stay locked in. That's where leadership is forged, in the discipline of doing the hard things even when you don't feel like it. You want to inspire others? Start by showing them what consistency looks like. Show them what commitment looks like. Show them what it means to live with purpose, not just talk about it. Discipline is the foundation. It's the internal fire that keeps you steady when everything around you is shaking. It's waking up early to do the work when everyone else is still sleeping. It's keeping promises to yourself long before you expect others to keep promises to you. It's saying no to distractions even when they're tempting, because you understand that your mission is bigger than your momentary comfort. If you can't master yourself, how will you ever have the strength, the clarity, or the credibility to lead others? People aren't just listening to your words, they're watching your actions. They're paying attention to how you carry yourself, how you react to pressure, how you respond when things don't go your way. And if you don't have discipline, you won't have direction. You'll drift. You'll talk leadership, but live inconsistency. Purpose-driven leadership doesn't come from emotion. It comes from execution. Purpose is powerful, but without discipline, it stays potential. And nobody's following potential forever. They want to see results. They want to see proof that what you're saying actually works. They want to see you pay the price before they decide to invest. That's why personal discipline matters. It's not just about what you do when it's easy. It's about how you respond when it's inconvenient, Are you still keeping your schedule? Are you still holding your standards? Are you still pushing forward when it would be easier to fall back? If not, why should anybody else go all in with you? Leadership isn't about perfection. It's about direction, and discipline gives you that direction. It keeps you moving when the motivation runs out. It keeps you focused when the world gets noisy. It keeps you grounded when the pressure to please everyone starts pulling at you. When you've got discipline, you've got freedom. Freedom to lead with conviction, not compromise. Freedom to make tough decisions without fear. Freedom to stay aligned with your vision, even when everything's trying to pull you off course. That's why it has to start with you. You can't take people to a place you've never been. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't build leaders around you if you're breaking promises to yourself behind closed doors. When people see your discipline, they trust your leadership, because they know you're not just talking the talk, you're walking it. They know you've put in the reps. They know you've built something inside of you that doesn't shake in the face of adversity. And that inspires them, that challenges them, that makes them want to rise up and match your level. But they won't do it just because you say so. They'll do it when they see you doing it, when they watch you lead yourself with intention, with purpose, with relentless discipline. That's what gives your leadership weight. That's what gives your vision credibility, because you've proven that you don't just want to lead. You're ready to lead. You've done the internal work. You've paid the price. You've earned the right to lead others because you've first mastered the responsibility of leading yourself. Real leadership is not about control, it's about connection, service, and sacrifice. Too many people chase leadership thinking it means being the boss, calling the shots, having people answer to you, but that's not the heart of a real leader. Real leadership isn't about flexing authority, it's about building trust. It's about understanding the people you're leading, feeling their struggles, knowing their dreams, and being willing to get in the trenches with them. Control says do what I say, but connection says let's do this together. Control creates distance. Connection builds loyalty, and that loyalty doesn't come from commands. It comes from commitment, from showing your team that you're willing to serve them before you ask them to serve. The vision service is the backbone of powerful leadership. If you're too big to serve, you're too small to lead. The greatest leaders lead from the front, not from a throne. They're the first ones in, the last ones out. They check in on their people. They ask how they can help. They roll up their sleeves and carry the weight that others can't carry alone. That's where influence is born. That's where impact is made. It's not in the corner office or the title. It's in the way you treat people, the way you elevate others, the way you protect the culture, the way you give more than you take. Because leadership is not a right, it's a responsibility. It's not about being served, it's about being willing to serve, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one notices. Sacrifice is the cost of leadership. You can't lead well if you're not willing to lay something down. That might be your comfort, that might be your pride, that might be your time, but if you're not giving something up, you're not growing anybody up. Real leaders sacrifice because they see the bigger picture. They know it's not about them. It's about the mission, the movement, the people who are counting on them to show up at full capacity. And that means putting ego aside. That means doing the hard things that don't come with applause. That means saying no to good things so you can say yes to the greater thing. That means giving up your need to control every outcome and learning to trust the process, trust your people, trust the power of shared ownership and collective growth. Leadership through control produces followers. Leadership through connection and service produces other leaders. That's the difference. You're not trying to create robots who just do what they're told. You're trying to build warriors who can carry the vision with you. And the only way to do that is to model what leadership really looks like. Not barking orders, but building bridges. Not micromanaging, but mentoring. Not demanding respect, but earning it through how you show up day in and day out. Leadership is about empowering people to believe in themselves by showing them that you believe in them first. And that belief isn't just spoken. It's proven through your actions, through your sacrifices, through the way you connect with people on a human level, not just a professional one. When people feel seen, they show up differently. When they feel supported, they grow stronger. When they feel safe, they take risks. And when they feel that their leader is in it with them, not above them, they'll run through walls to bring the vision to life. That's the power of leadership rooted in connection. That's the strength of a servant leader. That's how you lead, not just with authority, but with authenticity. Not just with commands, but with compassion. That's when people stop following you because they have to, and start following you because they want to, because they feel your heart, because they trust your intention, because they know you'd never ask for something you're not already willing to give. And that kind of leadership doesn't just move people. It transforms them. The secret to influence is impact. When you add value, people add loyalty. Influence doesn't come from how loud you speak or how many followers you have. It comes from how deeply you serve, how intentionally you show up, how much you pour into others without expecting something in return. People don't remember what you said as much as they remember how you made them feel, and they don't stay loyal because of what you know. They stay loyal because of what you've done for them. Real influence is built in moments of genuine impact, in those times when you stepped in, lifted someone up, shared wisdom, created opportunity, gave support without spotlight. That's the foundation of unshakable leadership. It's not charisma, it's contribution. It's not persuasion, it's presence. You want to lead like a pro? Then don't chase attention. Create transformation. Ask yourself every day, who did I help? Who did I push forward? Who did I challenge to rise up? That's how influence is earned, not by being impressive, but by being impactful, by investing in people consistently, even when it's quiet, even when there's no applause. By building people, not building ego, by being the one who sees potential in others before they see it in themselves and calling it out of them with belief, encouragement, and accountability. That's what people follow. That's what makes them lock arms with you, go to war with you, stay loyal to your leadership even when things get hard. Influence is never about position. It's always about permission. You earn the right to speak into people's lives through the way you show up in theirs. When you bring value consistently, when you show that you care deeply, when you lead by example boldly, people open their hearts to your guidance. And once you have someone's heart, you don't have to fight for their attention. Because they know you're not just trying to get something from them, you're trying to build something with them. That's the kind of leader people give their best to. That's the kind of leader people trust when everything's on the line. Impact doesn't require perfection, it requires purpose. It requires being intentional with your time, your energy, your words. It requires listening when others are talking. It requires noticing the small things that most overlook. It requires choosing influence over image, choosing to show up as your authentic self, even when it's vulnerable, even when it costs you. Because that realness, that rawness, that consistency, that's what people connect to. That's what creates loyalty that can't be bought. Only built. You want to stand out as a leader, make people feel seen, make people feel stronger when they're around you, make people believe more in themselves because of your influence. That kind of impact doesn't fade, it multiplies. It ripples through teams, through families, through communities, because every time you empower someone, you start a chain reaction of courage. And all of that starts with the decision to stop focusing on being influential and start focusing on being impactful. Because when you commit to adding value every single day, your influence grows without you even chasing it. True leaders don't focus on who's following them. They focus on who they're lifting up. They focus on making people better, stronger, more confident. They focus on how they can serve deeper, give more, and make others feel capable of greatness. That's the secret. Add so much value that your presence becomes a privilege. Add so much impact that your leadership becomes undeniable. Add so much care, consistency, and contribution that people aren't just influenced by you. They're inspired to lead like you. Influence fades, but impact builds legacy. And legacy is what great leadership is all about. You don't need to be the loudest in the room. Just be the most authentic and committed. Real leadership isn't about volume, it's about value. It's not about who commands the most attention, it's about who brings the most intention. People are drawn to authenticity more than authority. They're not looking for someone who talks the biggest game. They're looking for someone who lives the truth, someone who shows up with conviction, consistency, and courage. When your words match your walk, when your values align with your actions, that's when your leadership speaks the loudest without needing to raise your voice. The loudest voice can echo, but authenticity leaves a mark that resonates long after the noise dies down. In a world full of people pretending to be perfect, your realness is your power. When you stop trying to impress and start trying to impact, that's when people start listening. That's when trust is built. That's when influence becomes transformation. You don't need flashy words or grand gestures. You need a steady heart, a clear mission, and a relentless commitment to showing up as the same person in every room, on every stage, in every conversation. Because the kind of leader people follow isn't the one with the most charisma. It's the one they believe in, and people believe in someone who's rooted, someone who's grounded, someone who's not trying to be everything to everyone, but is fully committed to being their best for the people they're called to lead. Commitment is louder than hype. Consistency speaks louder than slogans. You can inspire with one speech, but you lead with your habits. The way you show up day after day, even when you're tired, even when it's not convenient, even when no one says thank you. That's what separates you. That's what earns respect. That's what creates influence that doesn't waver with trends or fade when pressure hits. Because commitment builds character, and character is what your team, your family, your community will follow when everything else gets shaky. You don't have to announce who you are when your actions already say it clearly. And that's the real mark of a leader. Not how loud they are, but how reliable they are. It's easy to get caught up in trying to stand out by being the most dramatic, the most powerful, the most dominant. But real leaders don't chase the spotlight. They create light in the dark. They lead quietly but effectively. They make decisions that others don't even notice, but that change the game for everyone. They aren't driven by applause. They're driven by assignment. And when you're committed to that level, when your focus is on serving the mission instead of seeking attention, people notice. Not because you shouted for it, but because your presence brings peace, clarity, and strength that others want to follow. Authenticity gives people permission to be real. It lowers defenses, it builds bridges, it says you don't have to be perfect to be powerful. It says you can lead from who you are, not from who you're pretending to be. And when people see that you're not putting on a show, that you're not trying to impress or manipulate, that you're just fully showing up with purpose, humility, and commitment, they lean in, they trust you. They follow not because you're the loudest voice in the room, but because you're the truest. Because you're the one they know won't fold when things get tough, won't change faces depending on who's in the room, won't quit when the journey gets rough. The truth is, the most powerful leaders often say the least but do the most. They let their work speak. They let their consistency build credibility. They let their presence make the statement. And that kind of leadership, rooted in authenticity and driven by deep, unshakable commitment, is what moves people. It's what shifts cultures. It's what transforms environments. You don't have to be loud to lead. You just have to be real, and you have to be all in.